How you doing?
Good morning. Very well. And coming to you from the beautiful city of Burlington, as you rightly named it.
Yes, very beautiful. So it's been a couple of weeks. How you doing?
Very well. Yeah. Enjoying a couple of days here and there of downtime. So that's awesome.
Nice, cool. I know things change over a couple of weeks. It feels like years since we talked with all the topics changing.
It
So
does. Yeah. That's
let's get
COVID
right
for
at it.
you.
Okay, so all Burlington City staff will require proof of vaccination. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so our staff are developing a policy that will require proof of vaccination. We will provide accommodations or exemptions where we are legally obligated to do so. And in that case, the employee would have to provide proof of a negative test to enter the workplace. And the number one goal and priority here is to keep our workforce safe. And we have an obligation under Ministry of Labor and legislation and really ethically and morally to do everything that we can to keep our employees safe. And this is one step to do that.
Awesome. I know we've been hearing from Toronto and we've been hearing from other municipalities, but nobody's telling us what would happen if somebody refuses to do so. What's the repercussions?
Well, you'd have to, what we're working on in our policy, and the final details will be announced the first week of September, including when people will be required to be vaccinated by. But you'd have to show proof of a negative test.
Okay.
So we
And
need
then,
to know that you're COVID free before you can come into the workplace.
okay. And how about if they just totally refuse to? Then does it escalate?
Refuse to provide a test,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't be able to come into the workplace.
Oh,
So,
right.
right.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of our staff are already working remotely, and we have separately developed a policy where people have the choice to come in or to work from home. Many of our employees are choosing to stay working from home. But on the occasion that you might need to come into the city or work closely with other workers, those would be the requirements.
Okay. And then I know you're part of the Halton region. What are the other cities and towns saying in regards to this, vaccination policy that you guys are implementing? Are they going to do the same?
Yes, Halton Region is also working on something. They've asked to see our policy, which is great. The more consistency we can provide in the community. I don't know if the other municipalities are going to implement something, but several of them have also reached out to Burlington to see what we're doing. So hopefully there will be policies across all five levels, the four municipalities and the region, that are roughly the same for consistency purposes.
Okay, awesome. There's conversations underway about no capacity limits for venues and places that have vaccination policies. Does this change anything for Burlington and recreation and concerts in Burlington?
So we are also working on whether we would have a policy for the public coming into voluntary programs at the city. So if you voluntarily sign up for a recreation program in one of our facilities, our staff are exploring whether or not we would require a public-facing policy. But the events that are allowed on city property are organized by the event organizers. So as long as they follow the provincial requirements around whatever the gathering limit is, then what they do about their vaccination policy is up to them. But it highlights the need, really, in my view, and I know other mayors share this view, that we need one consistent policy from the province
Yeah.
instead of a patchwork of policies. But we've seen the business community, universities, entertainment organizers, all saying you need to show proof of vaccination to enter our facilities. So they're starting to do it, but it is patchwork. And the ones that were kind of out front leading the charge have taken a lot of heat and have been targeted with, protests and harassment of their guests and so forth. So, we need one consistent policy from the province. That would be ideal. But in the absence of that, businesses, municipalities, everybody will lead.
True. Sorry, have you seen Burlington business get heat and protests in front of their businesses because they've had like vaccination policies in place?
I haven't seen that in Burlington, but I've certainly seen it. It's available on social in other communities around
I've
us,
seen it,
yes.
yeah.
And certainly in nearby Oakville, there was a business that said you would need to be vaccinated. They got huge blowback from the community and reversed that. So it just
Hmm.
shows the challenges that an individual business would face. The Chamber of Commerce has actually asked for a standard vaccination policy that would be applicable across all businesses to protect, especially the small businesses. These businesses don't necessarily have the ability to, call in expensive legal advice or fight challenges in court. And so, instead of everyone for themselves and leaving these businesses, which have already been so heavily hit by the pandemic, to figure this out and to fund it, a provincial policy, as is happening in Quebec, as is now happening in BC, and I expect others will follow. We need one here in Ontario as well.
Yeah. So have you seen Burlington business step up in regards to vaccination policies? Like when you go out, do they ask for, proof? I saw one of my friends like put his slip in plastic.
Laminated, yes. Many people are
Laminated.
laminating their vaccine
I'm like,
proof
really?
of it.
So, but anyways, have you seen Burlington businesses step
No,
up?
no one's asked me, but it's all over my social feed, so everybody already knows my status.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't been asked. But I
Okay.
have asked, I do know that some businesses are asking their staff to be vaccinated. I know I was um, in one of the businesses recently, and they said that people are calling them, customers are calling them to ask if their staff are vaccinated, and they're making a decision about whether to patronize that business on that basis. So the
True.
businesses are getting these questions, have done for some time. And so again, that's why we need one consistent, clear policy coming from the province that would be applicable across the province.
Awesome. All right. So if you're going to ask the federal leaders one ask for the city of Burlington, what would it be?
We need predictable infrastructure funding, and the community building fund, formerly the gas tax fund. There have been improvements. We have occasionally received sort of a doubling or a top up, but that's not predictable. That is, oh, we got that this year. That's great. We need predictable funding that we can choose. So not based on applying for a specific project, but lump sum funding based on our share, based on population, that we can then build into we have a 20-year asset management plan that we can start to build into our financing plans, so we know how much extra to tax folks for. So this is really important for us in our budgeting and our long-term infrastructure planning. So that's a big one, and that's something that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has been asking for a number of years across
Okay.
the country.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. I will ask that then. There's a good chance I might get them. So I will ask that specific clip that you just said. Is that okay?
For sure, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. Oh, how are vaccinations going in Burlington?
Well, we get the numbers for Halton, which includes Burlington. It's not broken down by city. It is broken down by demographics. So you can check if you want by age groups. So we are slightly above the provincial average. So roughly 84% first dose, 74% second dose, which is about a percent or so higher than the provincial average. So we're doing well. But where we need to get, according to our medical officer of health, is 90% first and second dose. And that will be the best protection against overwhelming hospital capacity, or potentially risking another lockdown, which nobody wants.
Yeah.
So, if you haven't gotten your shot, go get the shot.
You said the L word again. Do you think there will be another lockdown in fall? Like, is that even like a possibility?
Well, it all depends on what the numbers are doing, and they were starting to creep up. They've slightly come down. But the best thing that all of us can do now to prevent that is to get vaccinated. And the science is clear on this. The COVID-19 science table has just released a dashboard. You can go look at it online. It's on my social feeds this morning. And it says that 85% of people who've contracted COVID are not vaccinated. 95% of people who are in hospital are not vaccinated, and 97% of people who are in ICU at hospital are not vaccinated. Vaccines work. They protect all of us. They protect hospital capacity. And you'll recall that one of the biggest reasons that Burlington and Halton was shut down was because hospital capacity across the entire region was being overwhelmed. So in order to avoid that, get your vaccine, because it's proven that the vaccine helps to lessen the symptoms and it reduces the infectious period where you can transmit it to others. So please rely on the science. It is very clear the vaccines are safe, and get the shot. There are many options available to people who haven't yet gotten the shot, and there are pop-up clinics. So watch Halton Region Twitter feed or their social feeds. They will let you know when there's a pop-up clinic coming. There was one at Haber Recreation Center here in Burlington. We're going to do everything we can to make it available, but it's available in Family Doctors, in drugstores near you. There's lots of choices for where to get one. So please do that. And if you have any concerns about your own situation, your own health situation, talk to your family doctor. They know your medical history and can advise you.
Let's shift gears a little bit. The City of Burlington is looking for everybody's help to renaming a park. How does that work?
So we, Burlington Council unanimously voted recently to rename Ryerson Park, and that was after the Halton District School Board chose to rename the public school named after Ryerson, and of course the park is right beside the school. So we decided that we were going to embark on a similar process, and of course Ryerson Park and school were named after Edgerton Ryerson, who was the architect of the residential school system in our country that tore children away from their families, stripped them of their culture, their identity, separated siblings that were together at residential schools. And we've seen the devastating, lasting, multi-generational impact that has had on Indigenous residents across the country. And so we chose to embark on a renaming. So there will be several steps. The first, residents that are in the area of Ryerson Park, which is roughly New Street and Walker's Line, will be getting a postcard in their mail to let them know what's happening and how they can get involved. The city is setting up a committee to review suggestions from the community. So we'll be asking for residents to let us know what they think it should be called. And it would be great to have an Indigenous name as the new name for this park. Those suggestions will be vetted by a committee which includes the ward councillor, includes a representative from the school board, includes a member of our inclusivity advisory committee and other stakeholders, and they'll vet that list and come up with a short list of 3, and then we'll put that back out to the community for voting, and hope to have a suggestion for a new name in November for council to vote on.
Nice. Okay. November. That was my next question. You've already answered.
November. Yes.
So awesome. If you had, so today, Mayor Patrick Brown of Brampton had a list of 5 things, sorry, not 10, of what they want to ask the feds. If there was a second thing that you wanted to ask the federal leaders for, what would it be?
Affordable housing strategy.
Okay.
A meaningful, affordable housing strategy and funding. All levels of government will need to play a role in affordable housing, and the city and region have similar roles. We at the City of Burlington have embarked on an affordable housing strategy that we expect to have recommendations next year. And there's a working group right now, which includes myself and 2 other members of council and a number of stakeholders. So residents that live here or used to live here that want to buy and are struggling, as well as representatives of housing providers, for-profit as well as not-for-profit. And that working group is reviewing some of the consultants' work around what the options might be, what other municipalities are doing. And there will be recommendations coming forward for how the city can play our role. But we need the federal government to come to the table and implement not only policy, but provide funding.
Cool. I will try to ask that too. if I get them. We'll see what happens. And that's all I have. Do you have any other questions or any other comments or anything you want to say? Anything you want to talk about?
Well, now you've put me on the spot. So,
That's like the fastest interview you've ever had. I'm like, it's
yeah.
only like 16 minutes in. Talk fast.
Well, let's talk about our parks again. So I continue to encourage people to get out and enjoy our parks responsibly. And just a reminder for folks, if you are coming down to Beachway Park on the weekends, only Saturday and Sunday, not holiday Mondays. But if you're coming on a Saturday or a Sunday, you will need to pay for parking. But if you're a Halton resident, you can get that exemption. The exemption's available online, but we have people at the parks that can walk you through the form if you didn't bring your phone or you didn't think to to sign up for the exemption. If you're going to Lowville Park, there's no paid parking. It's still free, but you do need to reserve your parking space. And this was done to help manage the numbers of people coming to the park. And there were times, pre-reservation system and even pre-COVID, where we would see people parking all over Guelph Line, which of course is a major road, very unsafe for people parking in people's driveways, blocking them in. There's not a lot of parking available. So the best thing you can do to ensure that there's a spot available for you when you come is to reserve it in advance. And if you forget, but there's still space, we do have staff on site that can help walk you through reserving your space. So just a couple of tips about how to enjoy our parks, this week and this weekend, and of course heading into Labor Day weekend.
Cool. Any new developments? Anything going on with that?
So September will be the month of development. It's a very good question. There are a number of applications that have come in that are in various stages. So we will be having a number of public meetings to seek input from the community. There's an application for a 4-story retirement home up at Kearns Road that will be coming in early September, and there will be a decision on that. We haven't seen what the recommendation from staff is. There's a new potential application coming forward for development at the Waterfront Hotel site. That is subject, before any applications have been made and they haven't been submitted, they're required to have a public meeting. So that is being targeted again for the first week of September. And there are a whole number of development applications. You can see them. I post them every notice that comes in on my social feeds and website. But the best place to go really is current development projects on the City of Burlington webpage. And if you search for that in Google, it'll take you right there, and it will break down the applications that we have by ward and what stage, whether they're pre-application, so they're seeking public input, they haven't even submitted anything, to it's an application in progress, to it's something that's been approved, but there's a construction management plan associated with it. And if you have questions about construction and process, it will provide the contact information. But it's going to be an extremely busy fall for the community and council looking at the proposals that are in front of us. But the one thing I really want to highlight is this, that we are required by law to process applications that come in. So I've started, especially with the waterfront project, that the notice just went out for that one. And people are saying, well, why aren't you stopping this? And the fact of the matter is that there's been no decision because we have no application. So all that's being proposed is a community meeting to seek your input. But we do have a legal obligation when someone submits an application and pays their fees to process that application. And if we don't, we can be appealed to the Ontario Lands Tribunal for non-decision within 120 days, and then the decision is taken right out of our hands. And so we process every application that comes in. We're required to do so, but that doesn't mean we agree with them. So just because our staff are processing an application and reviewing it, that's their legal obligation, doesn't mean they're going to support it at the end. So at the end of the review process, our staff will come back to council with a recommendation, and it could be to approve the application, could be to reject the application, or it could be to approve with modifications. And council likewise can do one of those three things. We don't have to approve the staff recommendation if we don't wish to. We can make further modifications than what is suggested if we wish to. And so I really encourage people to get involved in the process. The most effective way for you to be heard is to come to that public meeting in September, and any public meeting on you know, an application in your neighborhood that you are interested in, and have your say, because we as council absolutely will consider that in our decision making.
Yeah. So in other words, no angry tweets. That's not getting involved. Getting involved is by reaching out to what? How do they get involved?
Well, they can contact my office, mayor@burlington.ca. We're happy to receive their feedback. But if you want to be formally involved, you do need to either write to the planner on the file, and all of that information is on the current development page that I mentioned. You will see who the planner is. Send it to the planner, and either write to council or show up virtually as a delegation, and that will preserve your right, if you wish to exercise it, to appeal a decision you don't support to the Ontario Lands Tribunal. So unless you, and yeah, tweet doesn't count for that.
Yeah.
Social media doesn't count for that. So it has to be through the two official channels that I just mentioned, either corresponding with the planner or council, or showing up as a delegation. And that will preserve your right to appeal should you wish to do so. But yes, you know, I receive all of the feedback as informative to my decision making, but only if it's done through those channels will you preserve appeal rights.
Awesome. Okay, I know your dog needs your attention, so I will leave it at that. So
no worries. He's just telling me that the mail carrier is here, which is awesome. I always know when the mail comes.
So I will not see you till I think after Labor Day. So I hope you have a great long weekend, and hopefully you're taking some time off. So
I will be taking some days. Yes. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Take care. Bye-bye.